earlier, but this whole section that we are in, now that Jesus has risen, and if you're a guest with us, this is kind of where we're in. We just saw Jesus rise from the dead last week and the implications that has for us. And so we're getting a whole lot of hope and good news right now as all this is unfolding. And so we're going to see one of my favorite stories. This is Luke chapter 24, verses 13 through 35. I'm calling it Burning Hearts on the Road to Emmaus. And so let's read along as Jesus encounters these two disciples. So verse 13 of Luke 24, if you want to read it, pick up a Bible on your table, turn to the end of Luke. It's towards the back of the Bible. You can read it behind me. You can pull it up on your smartphone, whatever works for you guys. So here we go. That very day, Resurrection Sunday, two of them were going to a village named Emmaus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem, and they were talking with each other about all these things that had happened. While they were talking and discussing together, Jesus himself drew near and went with them, but their eyes were kept from recognizing him. And he said to them, "What is this conversation that you are holding with each other as you walk?" And they stood still, looking sad. Then one of them, named Cleopas, answered him, "Are you the only visitor to Jerusalem who does not know the things that have happened there in these days?" And he said to them, "What things?" And they said to him, "Concerning Jesus of Nazareth, a man who was a prophet, mighty in deed and word before God and all the people, and how our chief priests and rulers delivered him up to be condemned to death and crucified him. But we had hoped that he was the one to redeem Israel. Yes, and besides all this, it's now the third day since these things happened. Moreover, some women of our company amazed us. They went to the tomb early in the morning, and when they did not find his body, they came back saying that they'd even seen a vision of angels who said that he was alive. Some of those who were with us went to the tomb and found it just as the woman had said, but him they did not see." And he said to them, "O foolish ones, and slow of heart to believe all the prophets have spoken. Was it not necessary that the Christ should suffer these things and enter into his glory?" And beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he interpreted to them in all the scriptures the things concerning himself. So they drew near to the village to which they were going. He acted as if he was going to go on farther, but they urged him strongly, "Stay with us, for it's toward evening and the day is now far spent." So he went in to stay with them. When he was at table with them, he took bread, blessed it, broke it, and gave it to them. And their eyes were opened. And they recognized him. And he vanished from their sight. They said to each other, "Did not our hearts burn within us while he talked to us on the road, while he opened to us the scriptures?" And they rose that same hour, returned to Jerusalem, and they found the 11 and those who were with them gathered together, saying, "The Lord has risen indeed and has appeared to Simon." Then they told what had happened on the road and how he was known to them in the breaking of the bread. This is the word of the Lord. Well, like I said, this you may see now. This is one of my favorite stories in all the Gospels, especially post-resurrection. We don't often focus on it. It's maybe not common knowledge, but Jesus actually spent 40 days on earth after he rose from the dead, making various appearances and teaching his disciples in various ways during that time. And so we actually have quite a few stories, especially at the end of Luke and at the end of John, and we'll see another one next week, about what he said to his disciples during this little more than a month period as before he rose up and went back to his Father. And this one today is so great because it's got so much irony, right? It's got so much humor behind it, but it is irony that is pregnant with hope. It is irony that is pregnant not with despair, but with hope, because Jesus is risen and he's alive now. The story is also so amazing, in my opinion, because I think it really resonates with us even today. One of the best lines out of that whole section is in verse 21, where he's speaking to the two disciples, and they say to him, "We had hoped that he was the one to redeem Israel." That little line, "we had hoped," is one great way, I think, to actually sum up all of human history. You know, every generation and every people group could have a unique version of "we had hoped," couldn't they? It's whatever each generation, whatever each people group places their hope or their trust in to fulfill their dreams in life and to fulfill their desires. I was reading a great article about this a few months ago in the New York Times. It was written, it was a story and an interview done with one of the founders of Twitter, a guy named Ev Williams. See, as I read this story, especially towards the end, if you can hear in his words what the "we had hoped" is of his hopes and desires. So here's how the article goes. I'll put it up there as well. Mr. Williams, a Twitter founder, a co-creator of Blogger, set everyone free, providing tools to address the world. In the history of communication and technology, it was a development with echoes of Gutenberg, referring to Twitter. And so here we are in 2017. How is it going, Mr. Williams? Quote, "I think the internet's broken," he says. He has believed this for a few years, actually, but things are getting worse. And it's a lot more obvious to a lot of people that it's broken. People are using Facebook to showcase suicides, beatings, and murders in real time. Twitter is a hive of trolling and abuse that it seems unable to stop. Fake news, whether created for ideology or profits, run rampant. 4 out of 10 adult users admit in a Pew survey that they have been harassed online. And that was before the presidential campaign heated up last year. And then this is what Mr. Williams says. "I thought once everyone could speak freely and exchange information and ideas, the world automatically was going to be a better place. I was wrong about that." Do you see the "we had hoped"? We'd hoped that the free exchange of information and ideas and diversity would automatically make the world a better place as people got to know people who were different than themselves. We had hoped that ignorance was the main problem with humanity, and if we just brought in more information, it would change things, but we were wrong. This happens in other avenues, of course. There are other places that we can see the "we had hoped." If, again, you look in a political nature, it's not too hard to see the failures if you're not blind to them because of the political natures. Those who place their hope in more of a conservative side have often seen Fox News Network as heroes and those with a moral authority, those who champion the right causes and fight against the quote-unquote liberal media, those who are ruining our country. But then, not too long ago, you're probably aware, many at the top of the network and even some of the hosts were caught up in sexual harassment claims and abuses and were forced to resign because of it, going against the very morals that they championed. And then, of course, as we just prayed about on the other side, many who champion progressive causes saw Harvey Weinstein as a champion of their causes, a huge donor to progressive issues and campaigns, while also creating wonderful art in Hollywood that was celebrated and won awards, won Oscars. And yet, of course, that has all crumbled down in so many ways this last week and week and a half as the revelation of his alleged sexual predation, countless stories of women telling of the potential crimes that he is accused of, and the hypocrisy then of going against the liberal values he championed. But those stories out of Fox News and the Weinstein Company, again, prove to us sin is no respecter at all of political parties. It doesn't matter if you are right or left. Sin is destructive. Evil is destructive, whether it's against women in horrific ways like we've seen with these two examples or some other way. We had hoped. Where do you tend to place your hope? What do you tend to believe will make your hopes and dreams and longings come true? How do you know it won't crumble like what Ev Williams, the founder of Twitter, was placing his hope in, and what those who hoped in Fox News or Harvey Weinstein thought? These two disciples on the road to Emmaus had placed their hopes and dreams in Jesus of Nazareth, right? But with him dead, so their hopes and dreams died with him as well. And despite hearing about an empty tomb, and despite confirmation that the tomb was empty, they had the head knowledge that his body was gone, but it did not sink down into their hearts to produce life change, to fulfill their real hopes and dreams until he walks alongside them and shows them. Here's the key takeaway today for us. The risen Jesus is the key to all our hopes and dreams, which he reveals to the hearts of those who walk with him. The risen Jesus is the key to all our hopes and dreams, which he reveals to the hearts of those who walk with him. So let's start out by seeing their confusion on the road to Emmaus. Luke is a wonderful writer here. He fleshes out so many details as we begin. He tells us right from the start that this was that very day, which means if you look before this in Luke, even though we were in Matthew last week, we're in the same time frame. This is just later on in the day from Resurrection Sunday. The day Jesus rose, he already stone rolled away, appears to Mary and Mary, empty tomb, all those things we saw last week. If you didn't see it, you can go back and watch the podcast. And these two are on their way to a village named Emmaus. It's about 7 miles west or so of Jerusalem, not too far away. And as we already said, Mary and Mary have seen the empty tomb. This is probably the middle of the day. Later on, we get towards dinner time when the sun's going down, so we can assume this is in the middle of the day. One of the disciples is identified as a guy named Cleopas. The other one is totally unnamed. We don't know anything about these two guys in the rest of Scripture. Some people have hypothesized who they might be in other places, but really there's no conclusive evidence. All we really know is they weren't 2 of the 11 primary apostles and disciples. Luke apparently doesn't know or really care either, or he's just saying that's not really the big deal going on here. The big deal is the one that comes and walks alongside them. And so they're moving along and they're having a conversation on their way to Emmaus. Cleopas, can you believe what those Marys said this morning? I mean, how could his body be gone? There was a Roman guard, and we know the chief priests went before Pilate to make it as secure as possible. How in the world could Jesus' body not have been there today? I don't know, man. What about the angel, though? That's even a bigger deal than the empty tomb, right? An angel appeared to the 2 ladies, and the angel said Jesus rose from the dead. I mean, maybe he is alive, Cleopas. Right. I know, but can we really believe the women? Maybe they were just overcome with emotion and thought they saw something. By the way, if you look at Luke, that account is kind of how they said it. I'm not being sexist. They were. Well, apparently Peter ran to the tomb himself to check it out, Cleopas. Oh, really? What did he find? I don't know. I didn't hear back yet. Man, this is crazy. On they go, walking along to Emmaus. And then, as they are discussing, someone shows up. Verse 15, while they were talking and discussing, Jesus himself comes over and says, "Hey fellas, what are you guys talking about?" But they don't recognize him. More on that in a minute. The conversation that follows is really an amazing one. I absolutely love the details that Luke gives to us. Look at the confusion that they both have about the whole situation, even as the very one they're confused about is standing before them. See, at the end of verse 17, they stood still, looking sad. One of them, named Cleopas, answered, "Are you the only visitor to Jerusalem who doesn't know these things that have happened?" And don't you love Jesus' answer? What things? Tell me about it. What happened? It's so amazing, these statements. They call him after that. They say, "Concerning Jesus of Nazareth, a man who was a prophet, mighty in deed and in power before God and all the people." That line, the way they describe him, is so significant because it's the same way that other parts of Scripture describe people like Moses. If you know Moses, he is the preeminent patriarch of the Old Testament, of the Jewish people. He is like prophet. He is a priest in some ways. God appeared to him face to face. They, glowing tablets and things coming down from the mountain, Charlton Heston, all those things going on. Moses is about as big a deal as you can get for first century Jewish people as anyone. And they saw Jesus as similar to Moses. But yet here's that key phrase in verse 21. But we had hoped that he was the one to redeem Israel. They know it's the third day since he died. If something was going to happen, it was going to happen today. And they know the reports of Mary and the other Mary that we saw last week. They heard about it. They heard it was empty. And they know that Mary and Mary had seen a vision of angels. Isn't it amazing all the head knowledge they had about the empty tomb, about who they hoped Jesus was, about the third day, and yet sadness, dejection, confusion, all while Jesus walks along right with them, next to them. Life is confusing a lot of times, isn't it? Life is really hard and confusing sometimes. Anyone who says otherwise, at least at some times in their lives, has either not lived long enough or is probably crazy, right? Life can be very difficult and confusing. We have all been in places where we are extremely disappointed in ourselves, in other people, in society. And because of that, it's very natural to put our hope in something else that is going to solve that disappointment, that confusion. It's natural for us to find things that we can say, we had hoped, and we can play that game. And yet one of the things this story here teaches us is that confusion, that disappointment, that sadness cannot be solved on our own. Even the right head knowledge, as if ignorance is our main problem, cannot solve it. These disciples had all the tools at their disposal right in front of them. Indeed, Jesus himself is standing with them right there, showing them the way, but they don't see it. This is a parable that all the places we put our "we had hoped" in, all of them will fail if they depend on us. All of them will fail if they depend primarily on other people. We will always end in disappointment and confusion because we are not the answer to our hopes and dreams. But the one standing with them, walking with them, has the answers, and he's going to show them now. What he tells them in this following conversation is that he himself, as the risen Christ, is the key both to the whole Bible and therefore the key to our hopes and dreams. Look how Jesus responds to their confusion and despair. A little harsh at first, right? Verse 25, "O foolish ones, slow of heart to believe all the prophets have spoken. Was it not necessary that the Christ should suffer?" And then verse 27 is just incredible. "Beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he interpreted them in all the scriptures the things concerning himself." This is the greatest Bible study that has ever happened in all of history here. Jesus walking from Genesis all the way through to Malachi. That's what all the prophets have spoken, and Moses and the prophets means. That's shorthand for Moses was the first 5 books in common first century Israel, the Torah, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, all those. And then the prophets were the way to sum up everything else. And so Jesus is walking through the entire Bible that they have up to this point and showing everything concerning him. Just an incredible thing. So, in Jewish scriptures here, the Old Testament, what is going on in there? Why is Jesus pointing to there? Well, what's in the Old Testament? Well, beyond the main text of an entire religion, Judaism, and an ethnic group tied in with that, there are explanations of the human story, right? The Old Testament contains many chronicles of the beginning of history, of where we came from, of why we exist, of what life is for. A beautiful God who made us and made all of creation in response to enjoy it together as one. And they chronicle the downfall of it all. They chronicle how we turned away from the author of life and how we decided to build our lives on ourselves and how that ruined everything and the fallout of it again and again, all laid out in the Old Testament scriptures. And then God chooses, of course, a specific people, the nation of Israel, to work through to show his grace and love and justice. He saves them in amazing ways again and again and again in the Old Testament, and yet they turn away from him again and again and again. The rest of the Old Testament has stories of lament over the confusion of life, over the disappointment of life, over the reality of evil, over the sadness that we all feel, over injustice that we witness in the world. And in many ways, the Old Testament again and again and again is people saying, we had hoped, and finding out that it all failed and that they failed. But of course, that's not all that's in the Old Testament. It also contains amazing promises that one day God would finally show us the key to all our hopes and all our dreams. One day he will send one who will finally rescue us from the evil we experience in ourselves and from the hands of others. He will send one who will right all the wrongs and who will never give in to injustice, who will always protect the victims, and he will never himself victimize. He will always vindicate the poor and the oppressed and will save all of those who trust in him, bringing forgiveness for anyone that turns to him. He will come one day, the Old Testament says. And we're getting into the Advent season. The Advent season anticipates that. He's coming. He's coming. You see, the Old Testament points us to the key for all our hopes and dreams and says, that one is coming. Jesus here, in this conversation, here on the road to Emmaus with two almost no-name guys, is saying, guys, don't you understand? All of those stories point to me. All the scriptures are fulfilled in me. I am the answer to all your hopes and your dreams. But you didn't see the way that that would come was through my suffering on your behalf. And then Jesus walks, it says, more or less, for hours with them. Again, in the greatest Bible study. We'll probably start out midday here, and it takes them quite a while to walk 7 miles to get to Emmaus. They're going through, who knows if they had, they couldn't have had the text in front of them because it was like scrolls back then and things. They didn't have iPads with, let's go to this verse here, So they're probably doing it from memory, and he's walking through the entire Bible, and I'm like, it would have been awesome to have been there. But he's pointing out every reference, every allusion, every prophecy related to him. This is why one thing, and hopefully if you were here for us that whole kind of year and a half we went through the Old Testament together in the big picture overview, this is why when you read the Old Testament, you can never go to it without thinking about Jesus. Thinking about how it foreshadows him. Thinking about how it reveals our need for him. How it shows humanity is utterly lost without a substitute, without a savior to take our place. Jesus tells us here, the whole thing is about me. Jesus tells them, and he tells us, he is the key to the Bible, and the Bible is the answer to all our hopes and dreams because it points us to the risen Christ. Well, let's see how it finishes up here. Let's see how only Jesus can create burning hearts, to take it from our head down to our heart. They don't see it. Even after this great Bible study, they're still like, man, this is awesome. This is wonderful. But they still don't see and recognize that it is Jesus. The greatest Bible study in history, led by Jesus himself as leader, they still don't see it. Remember that key takeaway I said earlier. The risen Jesus is the key to all our hopes and dreams. The question is now, how does he reveal that to us? How do we move from only seeing it in our heads to getting it down in our hearts? The key takeaway I said, which he reveals to our hearts for those who walk with him. Story continues, and we'll see that here. They get to Emmaus. They eventually reach the village. It's getting dark by that time, and so they're having a great time. They're drawn to Jesus. They're like, "This is awesome!" And so Jesus is like, "I'm gonna, head on that way." And they go, "No, stay with us. Like, let's not stop talking. Come in. We'll share a meal. Let's go in. This is great. I want to learn more. Wow, this is fascinating." And Jesus obliges and come on in. And look what happens as they're at table. Verse 30. When he was at the table with them, he took bread. He blessed and broke it and gave it to them. And then, amazingly, their eyes were opened. And they recognized him. And then, boop, he disappears. The risen Jesus, you'll find out, he does all sorts of stuff like this. After his body's not confined anymore to, time and space as we think of it, and somehow he can just, boop, he can take off if he wants to. And so that's what happens here. But they recognize him, and then he's going off somewhere else to show up to someone else. But remember that. Isn't that amazing? Like, remember what we said earlier when they couldn't recognize him. Why did Luke say they could not recognize Jesus? The verse said their eyes were kept from recognizing him. And then here Luke tells us the reason they recognized him is not for any other reason than their eyes were opened. You see, both of those are what we call passive verbs, right? They are someone else doing it to them. Someone else keeping their eyes from recognizing. Someone else opening their eyes so they can see. So let me ask you, who is the one that kept them from seeing? And who is the one who allowed them to see? This is why, when we look to ourselves as the ultimate answer to our hopes and dreams, or we look to other people, or we look to other systems or politics or any other place we look to as saviors to fulfill our hopes and our dreams, when we look to our own knowledge, whatever else it is we look to will only end up with we had hoped. Because we don't ultimately need those things. And those things can't fulfill our hopes and dreams. We need our eyes to be opened. We need to see the one who is right in front of us every day. We need to see the one who walks beside us and is trying to show us what life is really about. Every moment, every day, for you, Jesus is saying, don't you see? Don't be slow to believe. I'm the one here before you. I died, I rose, I'm alive today. I am here with you, I will walk with you today. All your hopes and dreams are met in me if you'll only believe. It will not look like what you think, but trust me, once you see it, it will change everything in your life. We need him. He alone is the one that can open our eyes. That's exactly what he does here with these two disciples. He waits until he hands them the bread, and all of a sudden, boy, oh my gosh, it's Jesus. We were with him for hours, and they finally see. They knew the information in their heads. Now they know it in their hearts when Jesus showed up. Look at their wonderful response. This is partly where we get the title of the message. Yeah, he goes, whoop, takes off. They go, oh my God, did not our hearts burn within us while he talked to us on the road and opened to us the scriptures? Jesus creates hearts on fire when he opens our eyes to see reality and to see himself. It happens the moment you first place your faith in Jesus. Some of you, at times, not everyone's like this, everyone's story is different, but some people, have stories where they can remember the first time they really put their faith in Jesus and can really remember it was real. It was real upon their hearts. I remember I went from thinking the Bible was totally lame and boring and stupid and I just want to watch football on Sundays, and all of a sudden I was like, this is amazing. Why didn't anyone tell me about this? This is the greatest thing on the face of the planet. And I'm like, what, Mom, why didn't you tell me? Everyone? And they're all like, we did, kind of, yeah, sort of. Some of you can remember that, but it always happens in some way or another. Light comes on, it goes from the head, it comes to the heart, it becomes real inside of us. Jesus alone is the one who can do that. But what is our responsibility? What are we to do? How did it happen in this story? We are to walk with him. We are simply to walk with him. That's the call for us today. If you are a follower of Jesus, walk with him today. Talk with him every day. We talk to God in prayer. He talks to us through the Bible. That's how the conversation happens. Sometimes you get special impressions. Sometimes you go, oh, maybe God's saying this to me. The primary way he speaks to us is through reading the Bible together, by yourself, late at night, with your family, with your friends. Read it, take it, meditate on it. Talk with Jesus like they did on the road to Emmaus. Not sometimes, all the time. Walk with him. Speak with each other about them. What's great about this right here is they start going to each other. Didn't our hearts burn? Oh, this was amazing. They're sharing it with one another, and they have to go tell everyone else. They're in community sharing the wonder of what God has done. That's what our community groups are. That's what church is here, with one another. Talk with them, walk with them, step out in faith as we do so together, as we challenge you guys to various ways, volunteering and orphan care as we're doing recently. Take steps of faith, walk with him, talk with him. That's our responsibility. Pray, read, study, meditate, confess, live in community, step out in faith. And what does this story tell us Jesus promises to do? And not just promises to do, what he loves to do. Don't you think Jesus had to have a huge smile on the entire time through this conversation? Like, guys, let me show you Genesis here. See this whole Abraham with his son? Abraham almost sacrifices his son. God saves the day. You get it? Son, dad, dying, death, sacrifice. You get it? Moses frees the people. You see the blood on the door frames in Exodus. The angel passes over their sins because the blood of a perfect lamb. You seeing it, guys? Hey, he's got to have this huge smile on his face. And then he's sitting down with the bread and he's like, watch this, it's going to be great. And he just, wink, wink. I think Piper's Children's Bible has this scene, and it has Jesus going wink as he breaks the bread, and he hands it to him and he goes, watch this. And they go, oh, and he goes, boop, and gets out of there. He has to be loving this moment that he is sharing with them. He loves to open our eyes when we walk with him. He loves to make it real upon our hearts. He alone creates the fire. We can't make it beautiful, but Jesus does, and he loves to. He loves to draw us out. He loves to lead us to the fullness of joy. He loves to show them and you what life is all about. He loves to bring you to himself, and then fire when he shows up. May God do that with us as we walk with him today. Let's pray. Lord, what a great, awesome, funny story that you give us here on the road to Emmaus. Thank you that you are patient with people who are slow to believe, like me. Thank you, even though you look at me and us sometimes, you go, oh, foolish one, slow of heart to believe. But you walk and you show us and you teach us and you lead us. And we can imagine the joy on your face as we walk with you, as we talk with you, as we talk with one another. Lord, make that real in new ways upon our hearts this week as we walk with you. Show us ways that we are not walking with you, and ways that we can do that in practical ways throughout the weak. Show us the responsibility we have. And then God, we pray and beg you, you alone would do the work that you can do. You would create fire, that our hearts would burn because your Spirit shows up and teaches us and reveals yourself to us. Lord, we commit to walk with you, and then we pray you would do what only you can do. Open our eyes, show us the truth, and do that for so many others in our community who we long to see their hopes and dreams fulfilled, and the only one who can truly do it. Thank you, Father. Reveal to us the ways that we still place things and we had hoped, and show us that you're the only one we need. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.